Ladies and gents, this is your boy Dr. Racy. You know that I am the producer of Creativism Movement and Creativism Movement Show. So I'm opening Facebook Live to speak about the speech of Brendan Cox. Why is his speech a million times more worthy than a million filthy queens or a million or thousands and trillions of corrupted politicians? Excuse me. Let us start from the very beginning. What does Brendan Cox say? He begins his speech like this. Joe loved Christmas, the games, the traditions, the coming together of friends and family, and above all, the excitement of our kids. What is the point in here? A moment for reflection. He speaks here about the great values of humanity. What are the great values? Is our little family, our kids, our loved ones, and then it is the second one, our society. So we have our society and we have our family. We have our little family in our homes, and we have our bigger family that is our society. So here we speak about the great values of humanity, and this is Brendan Cox. So the beginning of his speech, it shows what unites us, basically. What unites us? It is our family. It unites us. Our fathers, our mothers, our brothers, our sisters, our loved ones. And then it is our society, for which we work, and the ones who work for us in turn. So society and family, the little family and the bigger family. Remember this. Dr. Racy, Creativism Movement Show, Brendan Cox, Christmas message, a million times more worthy than a thousand or billions of filthy and privileged queens and princes and princesses and or corrupted politicians. So now let us move on. 1 second. Here I'm going for a walk. So I'm going for a walk, and to explain you my philosophy of why I liked Brendan Cox ideology, Brendan Cox speech. Whether he wrote it or not, it doesn't matter. It matters the message, what lies underneath. This year, we'll try to remember how lucky we were to have Joe in our lives for so long, and not how unlucky we were to have her taken from us. Here shows the pain of humanity. You know, some people who love killing over goodness, who love evil over good, who like to trump good through evil, they won't like to destroy our society. So here it shows pain, but also it shows resistance. So we resist to pain, and it shows how much resistant are we to pain. So we are going to remember Joe, he says, and he is absolutely right. We are going to remember Joe. How lucky we were to have Joe in our lives for so long. Beautiful. 2016 has been an awful year for our family, and it's been a divisive one for the wider world. You see, ladies and gents, he makes the point of the little family that he loves, his kids, his wife that is taken away. And he also speaks about the bigger family, now about our society. You see these little fascists who crop up every now and then, racists, they hate immigrants, they hate people who want to change the world. But he makes a very, very great point, Brendan Cox, where he says, a year in which fascism, xenophobia, extremism, and terrorism made us divided and felt threatened from America to Europe and to Middle East and beyond. Of course, we saw how Mr. Trump and the rich kids of Mr. Trump, they were xenophobic. They were racist, and still they won. Excuse me? Why? You mean that the Germans in the Second World War, they weren't wise enough? You mean that the Americans now are not wise enough, or the English are not wise enough? It is all about greed. It is all about what some humans want and what some others want. Some want greed, and someone want to live in goodness, like to stick to the great values of humanity, are aware, are conscious objectors, conscious human beings, want to change the world through ideas and creativity, through movement and hard work. I work for you, and you work for me. So here is the little family and the bigger family, the extremism now that is coming from these little fascists. However, my point is here. What Brendan Cox, or the writer of this speech, can't comprehend, it is, why are these little fascist movements all across Europe cropping up like mushrooms after rain. Excuse me, where are we now? I'm just like somewhere in London. I really don't know where I am. Anyways, so as I'm reflecting on, oh yeah, here's a McDonald's, Prater Manager, Starbucks, everything is closed, Christmas Day, have a nice Christmas. Well, what is going on? Why are these fascist movements cropping up every now and then? Excuse me, the BBC, ITV, Sky TV, or the New York Times, the neo-Nazis of the New York Times. Whenever it happens that an immigrant does something as small as a bee pinching someone, or maybe like a very little thing, just like falling off the sidewalk. We are walking here, you see the sidewalk, we are passing, just like someone passes through the sidewalk and falls. Oh, the immigrant fell. Oh, the immigrant pushed someone. Oh, they make a mountain out of a molehill. These are the journalists, the power of the journalists, the power of the media, to make a mountain, to exaggerate out of a molehill. So what the writer of this speech is not understanding, it is that the evil of the present day are the journalists of the big media, excuse me, who want to sell their stories, want to get everything out there and make money based in selling their commodities. Stories are commodities, just like corporations, for instance, when they sell, let's say, suppose a car, when they sell, suppose a sandwich, for instance, let's say Starbucks sells a coffee, a commodity. So it is with the big media. When they write a story, they sell the story. They sell the story to millions of people. The sun is £1, is £1 or £2. How much? And I don't know how much it costs. But it goes all over the world, like the New York Times comes in London, in New York, in Europe, and it invades you. A moment of reflection. So what we are not understanding, it is that the biggest evil of the present day, that is this making the world so evil and so negative, it is the mealy-mouthed media who does not want to speak truth to the world, and also they think that oppression of ideas is freedom. You have seen how hard I've been fighting this year against the New York Times. I was arrested in New York City, inside the New York Times. I was arrested at the Fox TV, the neo-Nazis of the Fox TV. I was arrested at ABC. I'm still fighting against the security and the journalists of the BBC, ITV, The Sun, The Mirror, the Daily Neo-Nazis, the Daily Mail, etc. And still they say, hey, hello, you are not allowed here to come and speak. Because why? Because we are the journalists of the big media. We think that oppression of the ideas means freedom. Slavery means freedom. 1984. So what Brandon Cox is not understanding here, it is, anyways, he has to spread the message, so he has to, to flatter a bit the big media. Oh, you are great. Oh, you are big. When the evil of the present day world, all these fascist movements that are cropping up like the mushrooms after the rain, it is because of the big media, of the poisonous snakes, literally poisonous snakes who have a big mouth, want to sell their story, want to make a mountain out of a molehill. Hey, excuse me, what is my name? Suppose my name is Nick Robinson. I take a picture with a fascist activist and I work for the BBC. And if I'm a Jew, suppose that I'm a Jew, but I act like a Nazi, I cannot be a Nazi. I'm a Jew. I don't. If in my action I'm a Nazi, I can be a Nazi because my families have been tortured and stuff like that. Friedrich Engels said something, gentlemen. To change the names of the things doesn't mean that you have changed the things. You get me? Because you change the names of the things doesn't mean, for instance, you call this car, for instance, suppose a Mercedes. This is not a Mercedes, is a W or whatever. MW, for instance, is not a Mercedes. You call it a Mercedes. You just change the name of the car. You don't change the car itself. So they are just changing the names of the things, but they are not changing the things. Nothing has changed. The neo-Nazis of the today are media, and of course corporations who sponsor them, money, and politics who control the laws. So politicians control the laws, media control the information, and corporations control our food on the table. So that's why Brandon Cox made a very great point. He said, 2016 has been an awful year for our family, and it has been a divisive one for the wider world. The little family and the bigger family. Our bigger family and our little family. You see how we make the point. A year in which fascism, xenophobia, extremism, and terrorism made us divided and felt threatened. From America to Europe to Middle East and beyond. You know what I'm saying? This is Brandon Cox. And these trends could strengthen, they could gain momentum, they could consolidate, and they could threaten the fundamental freedoms and democracy that our grandparents fought for. This is Brandon Cox. He is right here, of course, that our grandparents fought for freedom, for democracy, and fought for equality and for great values that we stand for. Do you remember, you remember the Germans killing the French killing the Germans and the French and the English killing one another, and the English setting the Germans against the Dutch, and the Dutch against the Germans, and the Germans against the French, etc., etc. You remember the bloodshed in Europe, how the Germans and the French and the English used to kill one another, bam, 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 bam. Excuse me, do you remember that? But this must be a moment of reflection for the BBC and for the journalists of the big media who continue to silence my voice by force, like this Piers Morgan, for instance. They call her Jeremy Paxman, Jeremy, or Nick Robinson, or Stefan Sakur of the BBC Hard Talk, who continues to silence my voice by force, who continues to use security and police against me, and still he pretends to be a good man. He called him Stefan Sakur, BBC Hard Talk. Excuse me, who do you think that you are? I know who I am. I'm a creative power. I'm a human being. So I create the world anew with my own ideas and my own work that I do. So I have my mind, my ideas. I have my ideas in my mind. And I have my body that I make it work. Suppose now I'm in the car. 10 minutes later or 15 minutes later, I will get off of the car and I'll go somewhere to create something, to do something, to make something, to change something. I will work for something. I will stick to a vision, to an ideology, to a philosophy. And I will make the world a better place. But they have learned something from the past. How to silence reason by force. BBC, ITV, Sky TV, big media mouths, big mouths, crocodiles. When you say big media, you're just bringing your imagination. Imagine a crocodile opening its mouth, the big teeth, the crocodile, the big media, the BBC, the ITV, etc. Excuse me, what do we say? We say wolves and we say sheep. My name is Dr. AC. This is Creativism Movement show. Let's carry on analyzing, dismantling the philosophy of Brandon Cox. America, where did I leave it? We know that it's true. You remember the English? Oh yeah. Just as it has become apparent that tolerance and tolerant societies are only as strong as their defenders, there is nothing inevitable about the rise of hatred. Of course, cropping up every now and then, like the mushrooms after the rain. Oh my God, my pain is too deep, because all I see is but wolves and sheep. The wolves of the big media want to sell the story. The immigrants. Oh, they carry on. The immigrants, excuse me, the immigrants? What do you think? The immigrants for everything? The immigrants, if someone commits a crime, you say someone committed a crime somewhere, it was here, traffic lights, where? At the traffic lights. What did he do? He killed someone at the traffic lights. And where was it? It was in London town. Who was he? What was his name? His name was, for instance, suppose it was Nick Robinson. He's a criminal anyway. We know the Nick Robinson of Jeremy Paxman, the journalist of the BBC. Call him a journalist of the BBC. Call him a journalist. The journalist killed someone at the traffic lights. He was walking here, and how did he do that? He did with a knife, or he did with a gun, or whatever. So you describe the action. You don't say the immigrants. So the true neo-Nazis and fascists, neo-imperialists, neo-fascists of the today are the journalists of the big media. This is a fault into the reasoning of Brandon Cox, that he's not understanding where is the evil of the present day world. That is in the big media, inside the big studios of the big media. So let's instead of being a turning point for the worse, 2016 could be a wake-up call that brings us back together. It also, of course, it is a very great point. The 2016 could be a wake-up call that brings us back together, to bring us back together, and to stop also trusting and believing like sheep. I mean, our citizens of London, like people of London, of America, and of Europe, are like sheep. They know only one thing: truth. What is truth? Truth is the big media. Truth is the big media. Excuse me. You see, truth is a big media. How can the big media be the truth? We are here in the traffic lights, ladies and gents. We have stopped here. So it's a moment of reflection. Whenever we stop, it's a moment of reflection. Truth is the big media. Sheep thinking, sheep doing, sheep creating. My name is Dr. AC, Creativism Movement show. A wake-up call for all those of us who thought that the values that feel so much part of our society, of tolerance, of fair play, were in some way sacrosanct and didn't need defending. He makes a very great point here that says that in our world, in every time, in every epoch, every time has its own pain, so we must defend our great values. But also I made a point on Twitter. Hey, hello everyone, you may stand, I believe in that killing is good, so I go to kill someone. Hey, excuse me. When you stand for something, you stand for the great values that humanity stands for: freedom, for democracy, and for goodness, for equality, for what our grandparents stood. That's how you stand for something. That's why, and this is a mission of a true activist who stands for freedom, who stands for democracy, who stands for equality, who stands for a better society. Not who stands like a fascist or a Nazi against immigrants or against certain people or certain colors of people, or at whatever is in his mind, in his narrow mind. So the thing is, when you stand for the great values, you are a true activist. You are not an activist that you create violence. That's why Einstein made a very great point. He said, hey, Gandhi, he spoke about Gandhi. Einstein was a stupid man. Who is great? Are the journalists at the BBC? They are great, who silence the voices of, and who choke independent thinking. So Einstein, ladies and gents, said, Einstein, he said that Gandhi scorned at every kind of violence, and I scorn at every kind of war. So Einstein was a great against war, and Gandhi was against violence. That's why Gandhi remains a great man, and Einstein remains a great man, because to be against war, to be against violence, that's how you become great. Not to go. You remember 2 days ago I went to the BBC and they tried to push me, to shove me, to touch me, to provoke me. The protectors of the thugs of the BBC, the protectors of the journalists of the BBC. And now let's move on. Let's move on with the speech. A wake-up call that this isn't someone else's problem, and a wake-up call that we all have our part to play. Of course, we all have our part to play. We are the actors of this world, so we have to play. You play the good or you play the evil. You play the bad or you play the good. It is up to you. You must play a game. You must be active. You must act. At one moment in time, the world is gonna call you to act. You must act. One moment in time, at one point, at one second to your life, you must act. Life is gonna call you for action. It's not only about ideologies and philosophies. It's about action. In a speech a few weeks before she was killed, my wife quoted Edmund Burke, who said that all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men and women to do nothing. You see, ladies and gents? So if you do nothing, to be honest, you're part of the guilty. I mean, if you see these fascist movements cropping up every now and then, if you see the big media continuing on immigrants, the BBC, excuse me, the BBC, they are making drug dealers and thugs famous at BBC Radio 1 Extra, and still no one is condemning what they are doing to Europe, that are changing our culture of politics, of good, of creativity, and of movement, that is through mirroring and imitating the present day world, not through speaking about drugs and guns and violence like they do. But immigrants again, immigrants is the problem. And so we see fascist movements. Anyway, that has never been more true than at this Christmas. This Christmas, our family will be remembering Jo in every moment, her energy, her enthusiasm, her love, and her example. After all that's happened this year, she would hope that all of us make a resolution to do something in 2017 to bring our communities back together, to reach out to somebody that might disagree with us. Now is not a moment to shout louder in our echo chambers. It's a moment to reach out. Of course that it is a moment to reach out to somebody, I mean, to try to understand somebody, try to explain somebody. Even if somebody thinks that, hey, killing is good, that violence is good, you must go there and make aware this human animal to make him a human being, to say, hey, hello, killing is not good and violence is not good. That's how we make our values, like Marx said, through working and through respecting. We work and respect one another. Everyone does a job. A waiter, for instance, serves a coffee to somebody else. A taxi driver drives the car. Someone else at the traffic lights, or someone else, for instance, at the bank works to give the money to every client, or someone else, for instance, on TV gives a speech, or writes a speech, or writes a story, or sings a song, or whatever, or writes a song, or whatever it is, or introduces a show. So that's how work is valued. We work, we create, we change, we make the world a better place. Now let's move on to the last point of this message. In 2016, if 2016 was a wake-up call, I hope 2017 might be the year in which we realize that we've got more in common than that which divides us. We've got more in common than that which divides us. Of course, we have our humanity in common, right? We work with one another. We share ideas with one another. We share our philosophy with one another. We live in our little families, as I said. We have the little families with our brothers and mothers, our sisters, and we have the bigger families. That is our bigger mother, Mother Earth. Like Homer used to call Earth, Homer at the Iliad. He used to call, at Odyssey, he used to call Earth our mother. So Earth is our mother, ladies and gents. So we have our bigger, our smaller, our little family, our bigger family. That's how I see the society. The bigger society, the smaller society. This is Canary Wharf. I'm just for a walk here. I want to give a message to you, ladies and gents. My name is Dr. AC. This is Creativism Movement show. Now, what does at the end, Brendan Cox? Thank you for listening and happy Christmas. Yeah, of course, happy Christmas. My name is Dr. AC and happy New Year. I wish to everybody a happy New Year. I just want to say, what did I say on Twitter after I read the message of Brendan Cox? That's what I said. I have written here 1 second. My name is Dr. AC. Remember, Dr. AC. You follow me on Twitter, Creativity and Art. You follow me on Facebook, Dr. AC. You follow me on Instagram at Dr. AC. You follow me on YouTube. I said this at 3 hours earlier. This is the mission of a true activism. Not to stand up for what you believe in, but to stand up for great values. As I said, great values. We have goodness, we have freedom, we have democracy, we have equality, we have the right to speak and the right to create. We are humans. So I respect someone and someone must respect me in turn. And I ask him to respect because I respect someone. Now let's go to the second. You may believe, like the journalists of the BBC, that oppression of ideas is freedom and thug life is art. BBC Radio 1. You may believe like them, but that is not the right thing to do. I mean, that's what I said on Twitter. you must believe like our great grandfathers and fathers wrote, and for what they fought and stood for the great values that we didn't find in the sky. Sorry, it's not the sky here. I can show, because the problem of the London is every time is green. So I want to show you the sky, like it's night, it's dark. But we didn't find any values in the sky, said the great philosopher. They called him, what did they call him? They called him Jean-Paul Sartre. We created the values. These are the great values: goodness, truth, wisdom, creativity, movement, democracy, equality, etc. Freedom. The freedom, it depends. Anyway, the freedom depends how you understand it. Excuse me? It depends how you understand it. The thing is, the last tweet that I wrote on Twitter, that I tweeted. The thing is, who believes in great values and who believes in the ideas of thugs of London who have invaded big media? To be honest, these journalists of the big media, they are literally like thugs. I mean, they literally think that, you know, that oppression of ideas is freedom. They use security and police to control our minds. I mean, to turn people into sheep. I mean, it's a real and true suffering in London because it is a word, an ancient word that is called oppression. Oppression. They are oppressing creative people through force. I mean, the journalists of the big media, literally, they oppress you through force. I mean, they say that, you know, that force can silence reason, and this is freedom. This is a free country. This is a free country. This is called freedom. Free country, freedom. You understand the free country and freedom when you start to oppose ideas. And ladies and gents, my name is Dr. AC. In order to oppose ideas, you must have certain ideas. You must know that thug life is not art, and go to BBC Radio 1 and BBC Radio 1 Action, say, down with you neo-Nazis, thug life is not art. But then they show you, what do they show to you? They show to you the security. They show to you the security, they show to you the police, they show to you how force can silence reason. 2016, we are moving on 2017. I'm growing up every day, I'm listening and learning every day, and I'm seeing that in all my life, one thing is real and true. Force silences reason. It has been so in ancient time, it has been so in dark ages, in Renaissance, it has been in Enlightenment, it has been in 18th, 19th century, 20th century, and it is real and true in 21st century. Excuse me, they are very wise. Who told you that Nazis weren't wise? Of course they were wise. They were greedy. So that's why social power corrupts. So it is corrupted the neo-Nazis of the today. Ladies and gents, I love the message of Brendan Cox, and I just want to make the point that perhaps he has to be a bit of a lucky because he has to spread the message, so he has to be good to the big media. But he must make the point, he must tell what is the evil of the present day world. It is called the big media mouths, the snakes, the poisonous snakes. Those who swallow up your body, your soul, your being, your everything. Those who control your minds and who say that 2 + 2 = 5. You remember 1984? Orwell at 1984, he said that the philosophy of 1984, it is to eradicate, to wipe out, to destroy independent thinking. So the BBC, the ITV, the Fox TV, the New York Times, whenever they see an independent thinker that thinks different from them, they silence them. They don't allow them. And well, you say, well, hello, excuse me, I have an idea different from them. Let me speak to the people, to the English people, to the American people, to the European people. Let me explain to them my ideas. Let me tell to them what is good and what is right and what is just. No, they say no. It is only the BBC. It is the truth. The BBC, the ITV. No. You don't make sense. Why don't I make sense? If I say, for instance, that 2 + 2 = 4, if I say, for instance, that, hey, hello, oppression of ideas is not freedom. If I say to you, for instance, that, hey, hello, this philosophy of sticking at the immigrants is bringing the fascism back. If I say to you that war is not peace, why shouldn't you listen to me? Because they want to say that war is peace. We are the BBC. We control your minds. We have the power. You are the sheep. We are the wolves. That's why I think, like Brendan Cox, I agree with Brendan Cox here, 2016 must be a wake-up call. We must continue with activism, with ideas and movement. What is the point of activism? This is a great point of activism. Ideas and movement. You have your ideas in your brain, your mind. For everything that you do, your brain moves. So that's what even neuroscientists say. So for whatever you think, for whatever you do, your brain moves. Your neurons, your cells, brain cells move inside. So you think about an action or an idea, and you move. So ideas and creativity, ideas and movement, creativity and movement, philosophy. This is how the philosophy becomes reality. So you need to stand up, because this city, this world is gonna fall when the defenders of the great values fall. When the defenders of the values that we didn't see in the sky, in the dark skies of London, the dark skies of the darkness, in the dark skies of a city of machines, like Karl Marx used to say, a city of machines and rags. Marx said like this: London is a city because Marx lived in London, but he didn't like London. He felt an alien in London because London was full of exploitation. That's why it was in 19th century when the imperialism was flourishing, when the English imperialism was flourishing. So full of exploitation, they had their real slaves, the working classes, and they were the other slaves. So the thing is, it is this true action that exploitation, greed of humanity continues, and the few at the top of our humanity, big media, big politics, and big